For millions and millions of years, there have been rulers of the world's tropical lakes, rivers, and wetlands. And I'm talking about living relics, right? Apex predators with a design so perfect it's barely changed. We tend to just think of them as, simple reptiles, but they are so much more. So let's dive in and see them for what they really are, these legendary river dragons. Okay, but to really get a handle on these modern masters, we've got to start with a pretty wild question. I mean, we all think of dinosaurs as the ultimate prehistoric titans, right? Nothing bigger, nothing badder. But what on earth was big enough and powerful enough to actually hunt them? Yeah, the answer is probably not what you're thinking. So to find our answer, we've got to rewind the clock. And I mean way, way back. Because the story of the crocodilian, it's a story of survival, for sure, but also a story of, at times, just unimaginable size. I mean, this timeline is just staggering. The first relatives of crocodiles show up 225 million years ago, but look what they turned into. You've got Sarcosuchus coming in at 9.5 meters, and then the colossal Deinosuchus at a whopping 10 meters. These things absolutely dwarfed even the biggest snout crocodiles we see walking or swimming around today. They were, without a doubt, true giants. Seriously, just let that sink in for a second. A predator longer than a school bus, weighing more than 5,000 kilograms. I mean, these weren't just big reptiles. They were super predators, living right alongside and, yep, you guessed it, snacking on dinosaurs. This is the formidable family tree that modern crocodiles belong to. Okay, so let's fast forward to today. The ancient giants, they're gone. But their descendants are absolutely thriving. We have 27 living species of crocodilians. But, telling them apart can be kind of tricky. So how can you tell if you're looking at a crocodile, an alligator, a can, or a gharial? Well, it really just comes down to two main things: their snout and their smile. A crocodile, it's got a narrower, more V-shaped snout. And when its mouth is shut, you can see that classic toothy grin, with teeth from both the top and bottom jaws interlocking. An alligator, on the other hand, has a much wider U-shaped snout, and its bottom teeth actually tuck away neatly inside the upper jaw, so you really only see that top row. And this shot makes the difference crystal clear, doesn't it? Over on the left, you've got that broad, rounded U shape of the alligator, and on the right, that pointier V of the crocodile. It's totally one of those things that once you see it, you can never unsee it. And speaking of alligators, their family has some cousins you should know about, the caimans. They look super similar, rocking that same broad snout, and you'll find them patrolling the waterways all over Central and South America. And last but not least, we have maybe the most unique member of the whole family, the gharial. I mean, look at it. There is absolutely no mistaking that snout. It's incredibly long and thin, almost like a pair of tweezers. And that's because it's not built for wrestling big animals. Nope. It's a perfectly evolved tool for one thing: snatching fish with lightning speed. All right, so we know who's who in the family, but how in the world have they been so successful for so long? I'll tell you what, their survival is no accident. It all comes down to a whole bunch of remarkable adaptations that make them basically nature's perfect ambush predators. I mean, just look at this. This right here is one of the biggest keys to their success. Because their eyes, ears, and nostrils are all positioned right on top of their heads, they can basically act like a biological periscope. The entire rest of their body can stay completely hidden under the water, letting them just watch and wait, totally invisible to some thirsty animal at the water's edge. And, the rest of their body is just as specialized. They've got that streamlined shape that just cuts through the water, a huge, muscular tail for explosive power, and webbed feet to help them steer. They can even go for super long periods without eating, all thanks to a slow metabolism. But there's one more sense they have that gives them this almost supernatural edge. Okay, this is where things get really, really cool. Their snouts are covered in these tiny little sensory organs, pressure receptors. What do? Well, they let the crocodile detect the absolute slightest disturbance in the water. A fish swimming past, an animal dipping its head for a drink, they can literally feel those vibrations, which means they can pinpoint prey with deadly accuracy even when it's pitch black. So, you've got a perfectly designed body. You've got a sixth sense for hunting. Now, let's see how it all comes together in their absolute masterclass of predation, the art of the ambush. And it all begins with patience. A ton of patience. A crocodile can just lie in wait, perfectly still, looking for all the world like a floating log, not a deadly predator. And this whole motionless act is key. It's what lulls unsuspecting animals into a totally false sense of security. This is their signature move, the float and lunge. They'll drift silently, closing that gap without making a single ripple. And then, bam, in a split second, they just explode from the water. It's this sudden, insane burst of power that leaves their prey with zero time to react. And once those jaws clamp down, it's over. Game over. Their bite force is one of the most powerful in the entire animal kingdom. See, these jaws aren't made for chewing. They're designed for one thing: gripping and crushing, making absolutely sure that once something is caught, there is no getting away. And for the bigger animals, well, that's when they bring out this terrifyingly effective move, the death roll. Remember, they can't chew, so they clamp down with those powerful jaws and then just rapidly spin their entire body. This creates this insane vortex of force that disorients their victim and, well, it tears off manageable chunks. It is a raw, brutal display of pure power. Okay, so with all this talk of immense power and brutal hunting, it's super easy to just see crocodiles as monsters. But you know what? That's only half the story. Their role as an apex predator is actually vital, absolutely critical for the health of their entire environment. See, all this hunting isn't just about getting a meal. It serves a really important purpose. By keeping the populations of other animals in check, crocodilians are basically the ultimate ecosystem managers. They're the ones maintaining that delicate natural balance. And you can really see that role in action here. They don't just hunt whatever comes along. They often go after the weak, the injured, or the sick individuals. And this natural culling process is incredibly important. Why? Because it strengthens the gene pool of the prey species. It ensures that only the strongest survive, which contributes to the health of the entire ecosystem. So when you boil it all down, their mastery of the ambush and all that predatory skill, it isn't just for them. They are the guardians. They're the ones who maintain order, and they ensure the long-term health and integrity of this incredibly complex web of life in their river worlds. So what is the river dragon, really? Is it a terrifying holdover from the age of dinosaurs? Or is it a perfectly adapted, ecologically essential modern marvel? Well, the truth, as we've seen, is that they're both. They are a creature that demands our fear, for sure, our fascination, and probably most importantly, our respect.